All right, we're live. Welcome to Nerd Side Champs. I am Dan. Next to me is Tim hyphen subscribe to at Nerd Champs. We are the Nerd Champs, and this is Nerd Side Champs. Down there at the bottom of the screen, we have I'm Here for the Naked Gun remake. This is Kevin from Hydro Man Ran, and he's going to be helping us go through 2025, the year we have ahead of us, the projects that are coming up, what we're looking forward to, what we're not looking forward to. We have a lot of comments in the queue, so I'm going to bring those up and we're going to run through those because I'm trying to be better at it. We've had a lot of tangents where it takes me a long time to get to the comments, so I'm going to be faster. So Jon Snow Knows Nothing 1 says, I want to hear your answers to the following. Cap 4 will be worse than but better than blank. So, Kevin, guess go first. Cap 4 will be worse than what?
I mean, Winter Soldier, because I think every MC movie is worse than Winter Soldier. And it'll be better than, I don't know. Quantumania. That was a pretty lackluster movie. I think it'll probably be better than that. So
okay.
Tim? I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say it's going to be worse than Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Okay. I'm actually going to think that I'm going to like it less than Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So, so that's something, as far as what it's better than, I mean, probably there's a lot of bottom tier Disney Plus stuff that I think it's probably better than. I mean, I'll probably like it better than, She-Hulk and Moon Knight and some of that other stuff. It just kind of depends. A lot of that stuff just didn't excite me just because it kind of didn't focus on the stories or characters that I liked. So, yeah, I'll probably like it. Better than some of that stuff. But as far as from the cinematic realm, I don't know that there's anything recent that I can honestly say I'm confident that it will be better than. And that's pretty strong because Marvel has had a pretty bad run. So yeah, we'll have to see. I don't know that I'm confident that it'll be better than any of that. It might be, but I don't know.
I'm going to say worse. It's going to be worse than She-Hulk because even though that is a deeply flawed show, at least it was like trying to be funny, and I give things a lot of leeway when they're not trying to be too serious. And I didn't hate that as much as you did. So it's going to be definitely worse than that. It's going to be better than being kicked in the groin really hard.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be better than
I don't know.
It'll be better than a colonoscopy. Yeah, I mean, it'll be.
I did. You know what? I had a colonoscopy. I did just turn 45, so I had to have one this year, and I was asleep for most of that. So that was definitely better. That was better. Yeah. I don't even remember what happened. So yeah, I did see a movie a long time ago, and I don't even remember what it was, but I think it was like Matthew Modine in it, and like it was the whole thing, and it got to the end, and it was a dream or something, or maybe it wasn't. The reality shifted. That was bad. Mm-hmm. It'll probably be better than that.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of hope for the movie. I mean, I don't know that any of us do. We don't really have a lot of hope for the movie. I think that it's one of those that we're talking about the legacy version of a beloved character in a continuity that we kind of still wanted to see that beloved character in. So now I have really no interest in this story at all. And then we're going to go ahead and throw in the fact that we've got this massive CGI, terrible looking Red Hulk and a lot of, I'm just not into it. So, yeah.
So, okay. Fear of getting on another tangent and not making it through the comments, but Kevin, me and Tim are well documented. We are not fans of mantle past versions of characters. We feel like they don't work and nobody's interested. The only times they work is if it's like a 5 or 6 issue run in the comics that everybody kind of knows that the OG is coming back at the end of this. Do you like the second gen versions of heroes where they've passed the mantle? Do you ever find those interesting?
Sometimes. I mean, like I think Miles Morales is a great character. As
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other ones.
I
I
mean,
mean, like I don't mind certain arcs. Like when Steve Rogers got killed in the comics and Bucky took over Cap, I was cool with that. That was fairly limited though. I was actually okay at first whenever Falcon took over Cap in the comics. I actually kind of liked that run at first. I didn't mind it. But yeah, I mean, I get why people aren't as invested in those legacy characters as
Yeah.
the original. I mean, it does make sense.
I mean, there's a reason that Dick Grayson Batman comic didn't sell very well, and there's a reason that that when we try to kind of make a newer, younger, hipper version of the characters that we all knew and love. I mean, the Superboy comics weren't massively successful either. There's a reason that those usually don't do as well, and it's just because people like the original character. So it's different when we're talking about something like Green Lantern when it's a core, but when we're talking about passing the torch from one to the other, it becomes harder. So
when the Flash, I don't really. I'm okay with Barry Allen or the Wally West. I'm okay with either of those. And I will say this: my favorite Captain Marvel is Monica Rambeau when she was Captain Marvel in the '80s. And she was a legacy character then because Captain Marvel was even before that.
Sure.
So I mean, I mean, it depends on how they're written, of course, and whether or not it feels natural or forced. I think most people wanted Bucky in the MCU to be Captain.
Yeah. And the Bucky run was like in the comics was very well done, and they played that out for was it like a year? Did that run for almost a year? And
that sounds about right.
Yeah, the natural conclusion, you kind of felt like the natural conclusion was always going to be Steve's coming back by the time this is over. And that makes that story, the idea that you had that in the back of your head makes it more interesting. How is he coming back? When's he coming back? What will happen when he does? That kind of thing. So anyway, back to the comments. Barry Allen is slow. Any interest in the new streaming Star Trek movie that drops tomorrow?
I saw the trailer and honestly I couldn't even make it through the trailer. So no, I won't be watching that Star Trek movie unless I have a lot of time. But
the Star Trek is in a lot of the stuff. Like we've got the emblem, and we have done very little Star Trek content on our channel. I did not know this movie was coming out, and I've watched all of the Paramount Plus stuff. I watched Discovery. I've watched Strange New Worlds.
It's launching on Paramount Plus. Yeah.
Lower Decks is hilarious. I enjoy that cartoon. It's funny, and yet I had no idea. Kevin? Did you know they were coming out with a movie?
I didn't know it was a movie. I saw something today because it's based on Section 31 or something like that.
31.
So I thought it was a new series. I didn't even know it was a movie. I don't really.
It's a straight to streaming movie, I guess. I saw the trailer for it, and honestly, I'm not really interested in it. So I don't know.
I think
Star Trek is one of those things that's hurt me a few times. So I'm kind of waiting on something to be good before I watch it, maybe.
I mean, I always have the Next Generation, and so I'm fine. Like I'll just keep on rewatching the Next Generation over and over again.
Man,
and
the Next Generation is great.
I don't need anything else. I'm good.
It's a supremely rewatchable series.
It is.
You know what I mean? That's what they need to do with Star Trek. It was something like that.
Star Trek Next Generation is textbook, and nobody follows this model. How to take a beloved IP and do something new and different, and yet honor the original and not mess it up. Like they could have done that with Star Wars. Because Star Wars is not about just like a single group of characters, and neither is Star Trek. It's about this universe that it's taking place in. So you could jump forward or jump backwards and get a whole different group of characters and still have interesting content. And you're not messing with any of the characters people are already attached to. You're not messing up their storyline. You're not messing up their characterization. And the Next Generation did that perfectly, and nobody does that anymore. Everybody wants to keep messing with the characters that already exist and screwing it up.
Well,
So Barry
even
Allen is slow.
Even
What's that?
after the Next Generation, you had Deep Space Nine and Voyager, and maybe those
Yeah.
weren't your cup of tea, but they didn't do anything to mess with the Next Generation. They didn't mess any continuity up. It was, if you like those stories, you could follow those stories and those characters, or if not, okay, we'll go back and do some reruns. So
they both still helped launch some massive careers, even if you didn't like the series. And so those are things just to keep in. I mean, the 90s Star Trek, man, they were in their bag. I mean, and Next Generation is one of the most rewatchable series out there. People don't even realize it. You can just turn on any random episode of Next Generation and still be entertained. And that's what Star Wars and Star Trek both need to try consider doing again.
Any episode past season 1. Let's be honest here. Let's be honest here.
Fair.
Yeah.
Very fair.
But, it's the thing. You should just jump around and tell stories in that environment.
Yeah.
Because no matter what you do, if you're dealing with the legacy characters, you're always upsetting someone. You're messing up somebody's headcanon when you do that.
Yeah.
They've already decided what happened to those characters. So like you're past. You're not gonna satisfy everyone. So just make some new ones. Anyway. Barry Allen is slow. Superman is giving me massive expectations, which means I will be really happy or really sad. So
I feel this.
Where's your anticipation level for Superman, Kevin? Are you feeling like there's a chance?
What's is it burnt? Was it burnt? Kick twice, once shy, or something like. What is that? What is that saying? Something along that lines. Like, and I know it's James Gunn, and I do like James Gunn as a director. I think he's good. I think he's a good storyteller. But yeah, I've seen too many comic book movies. Yeah. We'll wait and see. I mean, if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. Most likely, it'll be somewhere in the middle. I'm sure, like most comic book movies now.
Yeah.
So,
I just there are of course things that you see in the trailer where you were like, wow, that looks really cool, and then there were things in the trailer where you're like, I don't know, that's an interesting direction. So I'm very interested to kind of see where they go. The crypto thing, I'm not going to discount completely. I am going to say I have to see it. I have to see the direction they're going to go, the impact he has on the story, the overall impact on the story. I don't know how that's going to go. And then picking up the story where Guy is the Green Lantern was kind of an interesting choice as well. So we'll kind of see, I guess.
I think when I heard crypto was going to be in it, I was not excited for that. But then when I saw the trailer, it was great. So my expectations are pretty high. I feel like it's going to be good because James Gunn has a good track record. So will I be shocked and like disappointed if it's not good? No, because IP has broken my heart too many times now. I'm jaded. You can't ruin it anymore. I read the Clone Saga, folks, when it was coming out at the comic book store. So I was at a midnight showing of Phantom Menace. So IP can't break my heart anymore. But I do hope that this
I skipped school. I skipped school to go to Phantom Menace. Okay. And my mom didn't know. And I skipped school. I was 15 years old. And I could not have been more disappointed when I left. I could not have been more disappointed. So
John knows nothing. One, will Thunderbolts out earn Cap 4? Tim, do you think Thunderbolts is going to do better than Cap 4?
I just don't know how it can with the promotion they're giving Cap 4. I mean, even if Cap 4 is terrible, at least people will have heard about it. A lot of people don't even know that Thunderbolts is coming out. You know what I mean? I guess that's the difference. First of all, it's going to be characters that absolutely nobody knows anyway, right? Nobody knows Yelena. Nobody knows Red Guardian. Nobody knows, any of this. So that's kind of my thing. I don't know how it can out earn Cap 4. I think Cap 4 is definitely, it's not going to do well, but it will out earn Thunderbolts, I think.
Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Cap 4 has a little bit more star power. Harrison Ford, and then I think Anthony Mackie is probably a bigger draw than, even if he's not your Cap or whatever you want to say. He's a bigger draw than anything in Thunderbolts. I think Thunderbolts is for comic fans.
Who's the biggest?
We all just want to see the Sentry. That's all. We just want to see what they're going to do with the Sentry. Other than that, I don't think anybody really cares about it. I mean, who wants to go see Ghost again? Nobody cares.
Yeah. I didn't remember who she was. I had to look that up, man. Here's the thing I would have said confidently 2 or 3 weeks ago. I didn't think Thunderbolts was going to out earn. I thought Thunderbolts had a better chance of being a good movie than Cap 4.
It will be more enjoyable. I don't know about good, but it'll be more enjoyable than Cap 4, I think, probably.
But the more I learn, the less I think that is the case, because as you start to really look at it, Yelena is the main character. Red Guardian is in it. Taskmaster is in it, and it has one of the screenwriters is the same. It shares a screenwriter with the Black Widow movie.
Mm-hmm.
So this movie is really Black Widow 2. This is a sequel to the Black Widow movie, which was not great. So as I start to frame it as being Black Widow 2, I start to lose hope of it being good. So I don't know.
I think it'll out earn. I think that Thunderbolts will do well, but I think Cap 4 will out earn it. That's just the way I think, because of the promotion. I don't know how it can,
Jon Snow knows nothing. 1 expectations for Andor season 2. What do we think? Do we have what do you think, Evan? Did you watch Andor? Did you enjoy it?
No, I don't watch Star Wars anymore. I realize that there's only really like 2 actually good Star Wars movies in all of existence, and that's the first 2. And and that's fine, and that's okay. I have those 2. I don't need to waste my time with.
Yeah, Dan and I are. So we're big proponents of headcanon within Star Wars, and we are very much the same. The prequels never took place, and Disney Star Wars doesn't take place. We did just watch Skeleton Crew, which was a very interesting story in the Star Wars universe. I think they did that very well. It was very surprising, and it has absolutely no impact on anything previously. That's what I really liked about it. But But yet, the Disney Star Wars in general, other than Mandalorian season 1 and season 2, has not been very good. And I did like the first season of Andor because I did like Rogue One in principle. And so I now remind me, because it has been what 3 years. Where did we end in Andor season 1? I forget. Do you remember, Dan? Where did we end? I don't even remember.
I couldn't tell you to save my life.
I couldn't either. And that's the thing. Like I mean, it's been what, 3 years, and I don't even remember. I'll have to go back and rewatch Andor season 1. And that's the problem. I don't even know where we're picking. It already was. It already was a prequel
I'd like a 10-20 minute.
Yeah, it was a prequel series to a bunch of people movie. We already know are going to die in Rogue One. So I don't know why we're wasting time on this. Honestly, it could be very well done, and that's fine, but the story has no impact on anything I care about. So I don't know.
Yeah, I will say, as somebody born in 1979, Return of the Jedi is the thing that I grew up on. That's the thing that I can remember. So it will always have a soft spot. I will always love that movie. Empire is by far the best. It is the pinnacle of Star Wars. and everything starts
Absolutely.
going downhill. And then once you get past, it gets steeper as it goes. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's going downhill, and the decline just gets faster and faster as it goes. And I will watch Andor too. My expectations for it is that it'll be very good. It'll be compelling. It'll be fun to watch. I won't remember anything that happened by the time, like 6 months after I've watched it, because there's just so much content out there and nobody else will be talking about it, because my other expectation is no one will watch it. Yep. It will have almost no viewership. Andor season 1 had no viewership. I mean,
yeah, and they spent a lot of money on the first one. The first few seasons of Star Wars that they did in Disney Plus, they spent like $15 million an episode. And Andor was like the first one where I think they upped it significantly to like 20-something billion dollars an episode. And so so the fact that they spent that money and didn't get any viewership, and they had to drop it on like Hulu, and they had to drop it late night on ABC just to try to get more viewership and more people interested in it. And that's a shame, because it wasn't a bad series. Like I said, it was just something that probably a lot of people just didn't care about. You know, people know these characters die, so, and they know how they die and when they die. The prequel to them getting there isn't a story that a lot of people are going to be very interested in. So,
well, anyway. Nobody explained to Disney executives the law of diminishing returns. Yeah. Whereas Andor season 1 had low viewership.
Yeah.
And it's not grown. You know, it's stayed low. Yeah. The people really like
it,
but the word
where's the cult group? Where's the cult group saying we must see Andor? You know, release the Andor. You know, I don't see it.
The thing is, the viewership for season 2 cannot possibly be higher than season 1. It's just not. It doesn't work. That's not how that happens. You know, because Anyway, Barry Allen is slow. Will Daredevil do the characters justice?
It's a broad question. That's a very broad question. I mean, you know, if we're talking about in the current continuity of the MCU, I don't know if that's possible. That's just because, you know, once again, why is this character being introduced to the MCU important? It's important because we want them to interact with the other characters in the MCU. Well, who is that right now? The Thunderbolts? Who is it? Moon Knight? I mean, you know, who's he going to be interacting with that I'm going to be excited about, you know? And I just don't know that even if they nail the character, I don't know that I'm really going to like what they do with Daredevil, because I just don't know that there's anything coming that's going to make it worth it. So I don't know, you know, if they had done this several years ago, but if they had done this several years ago where you could interact with, you know, all the original Avengers and, you know, something like that, it'd be different. But right now, I just don't know that there's much on the horizon. I mean, I know the X-Men are coming, but how close or far away is that? I don't think anybody really knows. You know, and Spider-Man is still up in the air with all the studio nonsense, right? It doesn't look like there's any project there that's on the horizon. So, I mean, who's he going to be interacting with? All the stuff that we've got recently. Does anybody want to see him with Falcon, Captain America? You know, that's what makes the MCU such a big draw, right? And so I don't know. What do you think, guys?
Kevin, what do you think about have you watched the trailer? Do you think this Daredevil show is going to be any good?
I hope it will be. I've you know, you never really know anymore. I hope it will be. I actually just finished rewatching season 1 of The Punisher. I really love those Netflix shows. They're really except for Iron Fist. But
yeah, both seasons of Iron Fist were rough.
Yeah. But you know, I mean, for me, it's I just want a really good story. I don't really care so much about the interactions. Like we saw him, you know, in that last Spider-Man movie. He's the he's Spider-Man's attorney, and that was kind of good enough for me. That's all I really needed. Yeah. He's a street level hero. I don't need him interacting with the Avengers. I don't need him interacting with X-Men. I just want a good story. I want him. I mean, really, the best Daredevil stories to me are him being completely broken down and then built back up. I find those to be the most interesting. So I'm kind of hoping that we get something along those lines. That's it.
Yeah.
Want some cool John Bernthal rage. So
Yeah.
Now, did I get remind me real quick at the end of it looks like they're kind of picking this up at some point between when after season what was it 2? Did Fisk figure out that he was Daredevil? I forgot.
Yes. Yeah.
That was season 3 is where Fisk
season 3.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Figured out that he was Daredevil. Okay. So season 3, Fisk did figure out that he was, because that was in the trailer. Like they were having coffee and he was talking to him about it. And I was just like, I don't remember. I mean, it's been several years since I've seen it, of course, but I didn't remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Kingpin went down at the end of it. They had a big fight in his apartment, if I remember right, in the Kingpin's home.
It gets a little fuzzy because I know that we were always told that those original Netflix stories were not going to be MCU canon, but now it appears they will be. But anyway, go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
The trailer is really good, or at least passively good, but it's like 8 episodes of television or 7 or however many, and you could find a minute and 30 seconds.
It's 16 or 18. No, 16
yeah.
or 18. Yeah.
Wow.
They're going to do 2 seasons of this storyline. Okay. It's going to be. So I think what we're seeing is just a trailer for the first half of this story.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got like 8, but you've got at least 6 or 7 hours of content. You could find a good minute and 30 seconds in anything that long. So I don't know. I know they started down a bad road and had to come back and change direction. I just hope that they've captured the tone of the Netflix show. Me and Tim argue all the time, but Tim's got this idea that things have to matter. Things have to tie together.
It's not that I want. Here's the thing, Dan. Okay. It's not that. It's basically that if they're going to do it, if they're going to do this, I would rather save it for a new continuity that is obviously coming rather than launch it now and try to make it make sense in the next continuity as well. That's all I'm saying. I want
this to stand alone
that's all
on an island. These projects all fall apart with the continuity now. The continuity is broken and it doesn't work.
Exactly.
They could just say, it's in the same universe, and then not actually tie it together. It's like when they shoehorn these characters in that shouldn't be here, and then everything is an excuse. Listen, if they use this Daredevil show as an excuse to introduce me to another young adventure, I'm going to throw things at my television. That's what I'm going to do.
He's already interacted with She-Hulk. We've already had Kingpin interacting with Hawkeye. I mean, they've already kind of introduced them into the continuity, and so that's why I do think that this is one of those I kind of would have preferred that they left it shelved until the continuity changed and relaunched. That's kind of but I mean, it is what it is at this point. But
yeah. I just. They really are trying to roll a young Avenger into every project now.
Yeah,
definitely
happen.
They're really trying to make that happen. Jon Snow knows nothing. One, I'm very, very hesitant at F4. It just feels off. Casting, story, direction, characters, it all just has me convinced I will hate it. So. I don't know
about hate, but there's pause. I'll say that there's pause. I mean, Kevin's probably more well versed in a lot of the comic book accurate stuff. But when I heard that Rad wasn't going to be the Silver Surfer, I was kind of taken aback by the whole thing. I was just like, what? So that's kind of one of the things. And then Dan and I have spoke at length. We spoke on Jonathan's podcast about Pedro Pascal's casting, which is something that I'm not saying it can't be done, but I'm going to have to see it. I'm going to have to see it because he does not feel like a Reed to me. But anyway.
He's going to have to turn some charisma off. He's a little too he's a little too bubbly and charismatic. and that is not Reed Richard.
No.
So the one thing I think is, I have a very controversial stance in that I don't think there's actually been a bad MCU movie or project yet. I think there's been a lot of mediocre ones. And I think, like, we all just love to say, "Oh, it's the worst thing in the world," because it was just mediocre and didn't live up to our expectations. But it's all just mediocre. Look, making films and all that stuff is hard. I'm not really, I'm not really hyped about this movie anymore because I started looking into who the director was, and he's just a TV guy, which tells me that Kevin Feige is the actual director here. I don't know where the vision is coming from, where the vision of the story, where the vision of the actors. I don't think it's going to be very cohesive. I think it's going to look and feel like everything else that we've had after Endgame, and even a few movies before Endgame. I feel that way about. I mean, look at Thor: The Dark World. I mean, that's the same thing. That was that was a television director they brought in so they could control them. Worked out with the Russo brothers. Those were television directors too.
And Love and Thunder, right? Taika Waititi, he's definitely known for a lot of television as well, and so
yeah, but he had actually done some movies. He'd done
some movies.
He'd done the What We Do in the Shadows movie. He'd done a few other ones.
Everything's very, very comedy, and that's fine. You know what I mean? That's the direction they wanted to go in the movie.
Yeah, but that's always kind of his shtick. Like he is that at least, even though it didn't work for me and I didn't like it, at least felt like his vision.
Yeah.
And
yeah, but like, what was the vision in Thor: The Dark World? Like, I mean, like it was.
We need to introduce the next chapter. Is what it was. It was all about rolling the next thing after this. And after that.
No, it was introducing the Infinity Stones for the first time. That's all it was. That's all they wanted to do. So.
I am a huge component that Kat Dennings should have been thrown off the cliff in Vormir. So that's just kind of how I feel about things. So that's my thoughts on Thor: The Dark World. Just get rid of Kat Dennings.
Then she was great in WandaVision. That was one of the best parts. Was her and what's his name, Asian Jim, watching the WandaVision show. She was great in that. So,
I love that nobody could ever. I love that nobody could ever remember his name, but we always call him Asian Jim. I love that.
Yeah,
I mean, I will defend that series, but I can't defend what you just said about that series.
Yeah, I'm exactly. I love the series, but
I like them watching the show. They were funny. They had the quips going back and forth. It was good. Fantastic Four is just, I am going to be sorely disappointed because when they first introduced it, and then when they said it was going to be a period piece, I decided. And even before, like, I always knew that the MCU is way too overdue for a reboot. The actors have all gotten old and they've all gotten sick of making Marvel movies, and your best characters are already all cast, and you're going to have to recast them. And this multiverse way of doing it just doesn't work. You just need a clean slate, brand new clean slate, new Iron Man, new Cap, new everybody, and the perfect project to launch Marvel continuity with is the first family of Marvel. It characters that they launched Marvel with. The Fantastic Four is sitting there, and you're overdue for a reboot. And I was just hoping that they weren't going to tell anybody because they were trying to sell tickets to these movies they had in the can, and that Fantastic Four was going to be a reboot. And it's not. It's so not. It's going to be tied up in the same multiverse nonsense that everything else has got going on. And the more I hear, the less I like.
This is one of those things we'll see the trailer and it will confirm all of our fears. I have a feeling, but
hey, Bone Bridger's here to say he loves the thumbnail. So
we love you, Bone. Thanks for being here,
we always love to hear.
I had nothing to do with that. Congratulations.
Yeah,
that is all Tim. Tim is the post-production team for the Nerd Champs.
Yeah, there it is.
Josh the Homesteader is back live homesteading.
Josh,
hello, Josh. Welcome back. Josh wants to know, I wonder who they would introduce in Daredevil. See, that's the thing. If they're going to roll out some young Avenger or roll out a new character in this project,
who would it be?
Who would it be? Yeah. Who's left? Kevin, you got a deeper knowledge. Who are they gonna shoehorn into Daredevil?
So if they do anything, they would probably bolster Echo, I would think.
Ooh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's in Oklahoma though right now, right? Isn't she still in Oklahoma?
I don't know.
I mean, she probably has a car.
She has a motorcycle. We know that.
She can buy a cheap plane ticket. Spirit, right? Spirit Airlines.
Yeah.
Does that still exist? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a thing.
So they are introducing that mute character too. He's a villain.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I think he's wondering like what young heroes. I can't think of any really.
Like
it would be great if they brought back Elektra. I really hope they end up doing that. But
I think we're gonna see Patriot in Cap 4 probably, right? I mean, is that? I don't know that that's even confirmed, but
well, we know we're seeing the original in the comic books. The continuity wise, the original Captain America, Bradley. He was
we're seeing Bradley.
The grandfather of Patriot. So.
Sure. Isaiah Bradley.
Thank you.
He's in the trailer, so we know that he's there. So it makes sense that Eli's going to be there too. But and we've seen Eli before, very very briefly, but we saw him before in Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I'm thinking we're probably going to see Patriot introduced in Cap 4. So I don't think it would make sense to have him here. But I think you probably nailed it there. Echo's probably the one they're going to go with.
They're trying so hard to make
Daredevil
Young Avengers thing happen, and it's just not going to happen. Nobody.
There's no kind of younger version of like the Punisher, is there? There's not. I mean, I'm trying to think of who there could be a legacy version of somebody that they're introducing. They haven't even introduced the Punisher in the MCU, let alone a legacy version. So I don't know, man.
There's definitely legacy versions of the Punisher. There was a female Punisher, and then there's currently I think like an ex-Shield guy that's the Punisher right now.
But those wouldn't be introduced here. So
they aren't young. They aren't
yeah,
kids.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
don't know, man.
All right.
I just can't think of anybody else.
And Echo is kind of a legacy-esque of both Hawkeye and Daredevil.
I think I saw somewhere that we were going to get a Kristen Ritter, Jessica Jones sighting in this show, though, which would make sense. So that's something we might get that.
I mean, we're going to return.
I hope they're bringing back Mike Coulter too.
Mike Coulter was fantastic.
I know what we need.
He moved apart.
I know what we need to make Tim just supremely happy, just to make Tim's day. We need Kate Bishop and Daredevil to come beat the crap out of Kingpin again.
Hey,
we just really need it. And Tim's just going to love it. It's going to be his favorite thing.
Dan did not watch What If Season 3. I can tell because there was a Kate Bishop episode, Dan, and you can imagine where I was. So anyway,
Kate Bishop is like, of all the Young Avengers that they have shoehorned into things and tried to make a thing, she was the most interesting, the one that I disliked the least.
Look, I love Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah,
I love her. True Grit, she was fantastic. I think she was only like 11 years old or 12 years old when she did True Grit. She was fantastic in that movie. Okay, she knows how to act. I hate that character. I hate it with the fire of 1,000 suns. Okay,
you're just
everything that was
a good show.
Everything it did not make any sense. This little 19-year-old, 110-pound girl is able to go out and beat up the Kingpin, and that didn't make any sense. She was a superhero for 5. She was
throwing her all around the room. She was
a hero for 5 minutes. She was a hero for 5 minutes and ran out there and beat up an entire warehouse full of guys. I'm sorry, it makes no sense, Dan. It makes no sense. God. So I could not hate that character more.
With arrows, Tim, and beating them in the head with a bow.
Dan, this isn't the real Hawkeye. Okay, this isn't the real Hawkeye that turned into the Ronin. This is
Tim needs a little
no,
shed out back with a no girls sign. He needs his little no
no.
girls
It's
club outside
hey,
so that there's no girls allowed.
I would have had no problem with Natasha doing that. It would have made sense, okay? Because Natasha is
How
a
is
trained
Natasha
assassin.
that much more formidable to you, Tim? Do you think she weighs 200 pounds or something?
She's a trained assassin, Dan. She is a trained assassin in the Red Room. Okay?
Oh,
come on, man.
Kate Bishop has been training to be like Hawkeye since she was
Kate
young.
Bishop was on a college archery team. She was on a college archery team, Dan. How many superheroes come from a college archery team?
Hawkeye?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Hawkeye came from the circus. He came from even less than that.
See, there you go. So,
yeah. See?
It's got to be otherworldly.
You have no problem.
Okay.
You have no problem that 12-year-old Dick Grayson in his little Robin outfit could beat the crap out of full-grown men.
Nope.
That's totally okay.
Have no problem because he was trained by Batman. Okay. He was trained by Batman. Makes sense.
All right. So,
2025.
Here's one thing I am actually looking forward to. And it's for all the wrong reasons. So I am looking forward to the full slate of Disney productions in 2025 because this is going to be a glorious crash and burn dumpster fire. It's just going to be so fun to watch it fail so epically. My prediction has been, and it still is, that Superman is going to outgross all three Marvel films combined. The three of them added together are not going to reach what Superman's going to do. They're going to fall flat on their face. I'm going to love every minute of it because they need to fail in order to learn. They're refusing to learn. So I think they need to fail epically to get the quality back on track. They've been celebrating unearned wins. They got Deadpool and Wolverine, and they had Guardians 3, and they had almost nothing to do with the success of either one of those films other than just letting it happen. So they need some like deep cut, ouch, that hurts failures, and they're coming. And not just in the Marvel Universe. Snow White, God, I hope Snow White might kill the live action remakes. It might do so bad that they just stop, defecating on all of our childhood memories with these weird, creepy live action versions. So I'm looking forward to that.
I mean, it's going to be a terrible thing. It's going to be terrible.
So, yeah. How about Kevin, Tim? What are some things that you actually think will be of quality that you're looking forward to in 2025?
So I have a list of about 7 movies that I'm actually looking forward to, or have hope that they'll actually be good. So Tron Ares is coming out in October, and the main reason for that one is 9 Inch Nails is doing the soundtrack. Huge 9 Inch Nails fan, so I'm just excited for that soundtrack more than anything. As my title suggests, the Naked Gun remake with Leslie Nielsen as Frank Drebin Jr. I think that's a perfect casting. I'm very much looking for that. 28 years later, I got high hopes for that. That's coming out in June. There's a movie coming out in March.
Well, not Leslie Nielsen, Liam Neeson, right?
Liam Neeson. I don't know what I said. Sorry.
Yeah. But anyway,
in March there's a movie coming out called Novocaine, and it's got the guy from The Boys is just somebody who can't feel pain. He doesn't know how to fight, but he has to go after vengeance or something like that. And he's constantly just getting hurt, but he can't feel it. So that looks like it could be some fun violence. I'm a huge Mission Impossible fan, so looking forward to that one. The Life of Chuck. I'm a huge Mike Flanagan fan. If y'all have ever watched any of his Netflix stuff, he's coming out with a movie in May. Has Tom Hiddleston. And it's based on a Stephen King story, which most of his stuff is based on a Stephen King story. And then, a lot of hopes for the Ballerina, John Wick movie.
You stole mine right there.
So that's my list of things I'm hoping are at least good.
Yeah, The ballerina is exactly where I was going to, Kevin, and the reason is because I also love the John Wick stuff. No matter how unrealistic, no matter how deeper they make this universe, it started out as a guy going and beating up the mafia, and it's turned into this deep thing that's this huge organization with the high table and all this kind of stuff. But you know what? It's so much fun to watch that I just can't look away. I watched the series. It was great. I watched everything else, the Continental series. It was fantastic. My one concern about the ballerina is exactly what I think we've been talking about with the MCU, and that's that it's going to turn into a legacy version of the character. And that's what I'm not interested in. I don't want a younger female John Wick that we're going to try to shoehorn into 5 or 6 different movies. If this is something in the John Wick universe that they use to set up another John Wick sequel, I'm all for that. And I would definitely be all for that. But that's my only concern with it. But yeah, I love the way those movies are directed. I love that whole universe. It's very captivating. And so anyway, yeah, I'm very interested.
My hope with that one is that we can just buy the DVD and scribble it out and call it the Black Widow. So make it the actual Black Widow movie. So,
there you go. Yeah. Fantastic.
So I still do have hope that the Superman movie will be good. I'm holding that out. James Gunn has not let me down with superheroes yet. So until he does, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. So that I do have high hopes for that. That Naked Gun movie sounds great. That's perfect. Stranger Things is gonna be late in the year. Season 5 is finally dropping, and I have enjoyed all of the seasons so far. They have Spacey's way out, so if you're going to ask me, I have no recollection of how the last season ended, other than what was his name, Eddie, on the top of the trailer playing Metallica. That's all I remember. He didn't make it. That's spoilers, but that's been out for a long time. So I don't know exactly what the situation is. I think they got home in the plane.
Yeah, the Fantastic Four movie he had to go make. So yeah, they had to kill him.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was so I do Stranger Things. We're in starting next week or the week after. Nerdside Channel will be reviewing the new season of Reacher.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed. Yeah, I know season 2 had a lot of detractors, but I liked season 2. I've been after the first season, I started reading the Reacher books, and I'm like 10 or 12 books in. And I liked the book that season 2 was based on. So, and now I've already read the book that season 3 is based on. So it's gonna be a new experience for me being able to have already read the book and compare the differences. So I'm looking forward to that. And I think it'll be good. I don't know. There's not a whole lot else on the horizon. What was your list of 7 again? There was one in there that I didn't know that
28 years later, Novocaine, Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, The Life of Chuck, Tron Ares.
Yeah, I forgot about Mission Impossible for something like the biggest movie series in the world, and then I forgot that Dead Reckoning was coming out.
The title would lead you to believe that this is it, right? That this is it for Tom Cruise, right? I mean, the title would lead you to believe that Ethan Hunt is done after this, right? I mean, that's what it would leave you to believe.
Well,
that last movie doing it
like
how the
good,
Yeah.
I think what they're doing is how the classic rock bands always had the farewell tour, tour to sell more tickets, but then we're gonna have another farewell tour. So the last one didn't do great. They're hinting that this will be the last one, I think, and I hope to sell more tickets. And if they manage to sell those tickets, they might squeeze out another one, which is fine with me because the last one didn't do great, but in my estimation, it was great. I don't know why people didn't go see it, but the stunts were still great. Haley Atwell was great in it. It was a good movie. There was nothing it was fun. It was everything
feel
I want a
like
Mission Impossible movie to be.
I feel like the last 10 years or so, they've kind of gone a little bit more like generic spy movie than they did the first three or four. But I do feel like a lot of it has been just kind of trying to pump up these stunts that Tom Cruise does. He does one major stunt every film now, where he's either hanging on the side of a plane or he's, jumping off a car, or he's done, it's really trying to
learn how to pilot a helicopter.
Yeah, he's trying to do like one major stunt every film so that it'll get some kind of a draw from people seeing if a 50-year-old man is going to die filming a movie. But I just, I don't know. I feel like I'm like you, Dan. I don't think they're bad movies. I just don't know that there's going to be a ton of interest, because they've kind of beat the dead horse with it,
Maybe they're kind of like James Bond for me. Is they're just fun. Like,
yeah.
I would never say that any of them should win Oscars or anything like that.
No.
Maybe special effects or editing, but yeah, they're just really fun. Like they're the good turn off your brain movies that I used to watch as a kid. And I love it.
Mindless action. You know, same reason we watch John Wick. I mean, just mindless action. It's it's
maybe in the marketing this time, they don't show us the one big giant stunt in its entirety from 6 different angles in the commercials
and the production.
We buy a ticket to
the pre-movie commercials leading up to it, you're sitting in the theater waiting. The pre-commercial shows you the whole production of that scene. Okay. Yeah. And they've done that for like the last 4 or 5 movies. And it's just like, if you don't do that and then afterwards you tell us about it, you might get more people in. So anyway.
Yeah. So maybe they can hold on to some secrets and give us some surprises. Josh Simpson's let us know that he has only read one Reacher book, and it is the book that season 2 was based on. So, it's a good book. I know people got tired about hearing you don't mess with the special investigators, but you know what, guys? You don't mess.
It was the cheesiest motto. It was the cheesiest motto ever. Okay, Lee Child, you are very creative, but that was the cheesiest motto that you ever came up with. Okay. Anyway,
maybe they just didn't. Maybe they just didn't deliver it right. I don't know. Okay. Are there any good games coming out this year? Now,
Kevin, you're the game guy. You're the game guy. Yeah, we're not game guys. So.
I only have a PlayStation. Yeah, I have all old gen now because I even have a Switch, and Switch 2 is coming out. So I'm not a guy to talk to about modern games at all. I
Switch.
Dan and I are both retro guys. We don't even, I don't even have a modern system at all. So I'm not the guy to talk to about games. Sorry, Josh, I'm not your dude. But
the last game I played, like all the way through, was Drake's Fortune. That was because it came with my PS3, and I bought the PS3 to watch Blu-rays. That's why I bought it. I bought it as a Blu-ray player and streaming device because if you guys can remember when the PS3 came out, the marketing was it only does everything, and it was actually on par. The price was about the same as a Blu-ray player at that time. And since it came with the system, I did play it. But Josh Humster, I was active to duty Marines when I read that book, and all the Army MP hype made me roll my eyes. Still enjoyed the book though. Yeah, Lee Child, he's an Englishman, so these are all his expressions of America and American military. So if you read the Reacher books, he in Lee Child's mind, an Army MP is like the whole Army MP corps or department. They're basically all Batman. It's just a whole team. Everybody in the Army MPs is Batman,
and they're totally not. And they're totally not they're. It's really funny because Dan and I actually worked right next to a military base. All right. So we saw MPs all the time. And you could beat up a couple of them if you really wanted to. So
I did think of whenever I read the one.
They're
I
usually
only read
hanging out.
one Reacher book, and I did come up with a fun
Yeah.
drinking game to play while reading that. Is every time he describes how stoic someone is, take a shot. You'll get, even by reading a book, you will get very drunk because everybody is so stoic.
Yeah. The number one line, it's weird. Like reading the books, there's a lot of things you can't translate. The famous thing is always Reacher said nothing. That's a lot that is repeated throughout the whole series over and over again. Stuff happened, and there's always this sentence: Reacher said nothing. So on screen, it's just him standing there, not saying anything. It doesn't have the same impact. So yeah, but no, he definitely overestimates MPs. See, you could just decide that this is a totally different reality. This is not grounded. Reacher, it takes place in a heightened reality, kind of the same way John Wick does. Yeah, it's got its own rules.
Yeah,
and in this universe,
I actually think that it's kind of a very good it's a very good series as far as direction goes, because Alan Ritchson is actually not that big. And again, he's a big dude, don't get me wrong, he obviously works out, but he's not 6'8" or whatever they make him look like in the in the show. So it's one of those, they do really good camera work to make him look enormous, and that's something that I think that they've done really well. So yeah, I enjoyed it thoroughly. I thought that the first 2 seasons were great, and I'm definitely looking forward to this. Dan and I are going to be reviewing this one. We had been kind of focusing on some of the Disney shows for our previous reviews, and we're going to be doing this one week to week. It'll be a good one. That's going to be our live stream starting next week. Oh, and Dan, we need to tell the people about the new channel, don't we?
Yep. Starting next week. Of course, we're full of technical glitches, so this is the plan. This is the plan. But if you see us here next week, something has went wrong. But we will be next Thursday at 9 on our brand new channel titled Nerdside Champs. It's at Nerdside Champs. So this is the Nerdside Champs series of live things. So we've created a new channel exclusively for our live streams called Nerdside Champs. We will put a link to it in the description, and we will pin a comment in the replay with you can't put hot links in the comments, I don't think so, or maybe you can. But anyway, Nerdside Champs is going to be the new channel for the streaming. Going forward, we will still put edited versions of the streams on this channel to keep it rolling. This will be more debates and shorts and all that also going forward. So little announcement. So that's where the Reacher things. Is there anything else coming out, Tim?
Josh has another comment down there.
Oh, okay.
Look there. Yeah.
Let's see. What are you not looking forward to reviewing?
It's a loaded question, man.
Tim is going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting this year because, like as I've stated, I have decided that life is short, and I don't spend time watching things that I know I'm going to hate.
Yeah,
so Tim is going to have to be the soul.
At some point, I'm going to find another human being that watched What If season through all the way through, and we will do some sort of a review on this channel. And no, I am not looking forward to it. Okay. But at some point I'm going to find somebody else who has watched it. And we will be talking about it on this channel. I am not going to do it until I find somebody, but
I'll sign Jared up,
Kevin.
So
yeah, I asked Jared, and Jared seemed less interested in doing it than I did. So if that tells you anything, but yeah, it was abysmally awful, and I'm gonna leave it at that until I do my review. But I'm not looking forward to reviewing that one.
See, and having heard that, I'm not gonna watch it. So he's not gonna drag me into it.
I even told him ahead. I spoiled there's a Kate Bishop episode. There you go, Dan. There you go.
Yep. Now, see, that is not a red flag for me because I like Kate Bishop, but I'm like 2 seasons behind, so getting all the way through, and everybody tells me it's awful. That just seems daunting. I'm not going to see Cap 4, no matter how much Jonathan from Comic Book Cinema yells at me or tries to get me to go with him and have a big live at the theater.
I think we need to clear the air.
I will not do it.
We need to clear the air on what happened here. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like 6 months, this is what happened for all the people out there. So, Jonathan, our good friend Jonathan from Comic Book Cinema, is working not too far from Dan and I. Just randomly, he ended up getting a job up here last year and ended up being relatively close. About 6 months ago, Jonathan said, "Hey guys, are we all going to go see Cap 4 together?" And we said, "Jonathan, that's 6 months away. We're not going to plan for that right now." And so, and Dan said, "I'm not going to see it." Okay, not going to see it.
That was my immediate reaction 6 months ago.
All right. And Jonathan since has asked several times, "Are we going to go see Cap 4? Are we going to go see Cap 4? Oh, Kevin's gone. All right. And then all of a sudden, after that, Jonathan just pops up like 2 weeks ago and is like, "Hey guys, we need to get these tickets." And Dan's like, "I'm not going." And then a bunch of other people said that they couldn't make it that night. And so Jonathan got upset. But Jonathan, Dan has always said that he could not go. And I still offered to go with you that night. So it's not my fault. Okay. So anyway, so that's the story.
I will admit to one level of wrongdoing. I'm the one who started the conversation by saying that the pre-sale tickets had started because I wanted the meltdown to happen, even though I had already committed to not going. I was going to enjoy that argument more than that movie could ever be enjoyed. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Dan. So, was there anything else that we needed to discuss before we go ahead and
I think we hit on the things that I actually had hope for. I was going to try to do some more research, but yeah, I was so dreading all of the Marvel and Disney stuff that I almost forgot that a new Mission Impossible was coming that I'm going to be able to enjoy, and that makes me happy. Yeah. And maybe we'll do something with that when it airs, when it drops. So, but no, I don't have anything that I'm dreading.
What's that? You never know. I mean, you never know what could actually turn into something that's going to be good. So yeah, Ballerina is the one that I'm kind of holding out hope for, but we'll see. There's a lot of other things too, and we'll just see. I'm excited about, when it comes to the nerd space and the stuff that we like. I think that there's going to be a very, very limited amount of stuff that you and I are actually going to find enjoyable this year. I really am looking forward to starting reviewing Reacher next week, because I think that this is one of those series that we are going to get that hook every week, and it is going to be relatively captivating. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So thanks again to Kevin. You can find him at Hydro Man Ran. Thanks for Bone Bridger dropping into the comments. You find him at Bone Bridger. We
Josh,
are the Nerd Champs. You can find us here. Thank you, Josh, for being here. Thanks to everybody with all the comments at the top. And again, we are here, but we are also at Nerdside Champs on YouTube. So you just go to the at Nerdside Champs. We will put that in the description of this replay. Once we won't be able to immediately, it has to process for a while before we can make edits, but we will get it there so that you can hit the link so that next week, barring malfunctions, that's where you'll find us. In the meantime, like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends. We'll see you next week. In.